What's up guys, it's Ocean here, and today we're making a roast pork with a Hamakua mushroom gravy. Let's get started. For this dish, we're using 1/4 of the pork butt that we featured in the 14.0 Pā'ina bag. This should be enough to feed a family of 4, but it depends on how hungry you are. For the pork roast, you will need 2 to 2.5 pounds of pork butt deboned, 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, 1 tablespoon of butter, 1 sprig of fresh rosemary, 1 sprig of fresh thyme, and salt and pepper to taste. For the mushroom gravy, you will need 8 ounces of Ali'i mushrooms chopped, 1 teaspoon of butter, 1 packet of pork gravy powder, 2 cups of cold water, and a teaspoon of cornstarch plus a teaspoon of water for the whitewash. So now that we got our pork butt deboned, we're gonna prepare to roast it. I got this long piece of butcher string, which we're gonna use to tie the pork butt. That's gonna keep it nice and moist, and it's gonna help it to hold its shape. It's gonna be aesthetically appealing, and it's gonna have a nice juiciness. First, form your pork into a log shape. Slide twine under and position twine at the top of the pork log. Tie a solid knot and pull tight to secure. With one hand, hold the long end of the twine and pull tight. Hold your other hand flat, palm up. Weave hand on the inside of the twine so that the twine is pressed against the outside of the hand. Flip hand over to create a loop. Slide loop over the pork log. Adjust so that it is about 1 inch below the first knot. Pull long end of the twine to tighten. Repeat loops and tighten until the entire log is tied. Perfecting the knots may take practice, so take your time. You may need to make adjustments along the way. Once you reach the end, trim the twine, but leave a little piece to make the last knot. Loop the end piece, tuck, knot, and pull tight. Trim away any excess twine and make final adjustments. Flip over and done. Now that our pork is tied and it has a nice log shape, we're gonna lightly season it with salt and pepper. We're gonna season it on all sides, just lightly now. Salt. I'm using cracked pepper. I've got a pan on the stove on high heat. We're adding some vegetable oil and some butter. This is 50% vegetable oil, 50% butter. We're gonna let that melt, let the oil heat up, and then we're gonna sear our pork on all sides. Once your pork is in the pan, you're gonna wanna let it sear for 1 minute on each side. It's gonna give it this nice golden color. That's gonna help lock in all the juices and make your pork nice and tender. Our pork is nice and golden brown, seared on all sides. So now we're gonna turn off our heat and transfer it to a casserole pan. And we're ready to start roasting. I got fresh sprigs of rosemary and thyme, and I'm gonna tuck it underneath the strings of the roast. And yep, the strings are still on here. And we're gonna keep it on here during the roasting process. So now, I will put this in the oven for about an hour at 300 degrees. I'll see you in an hour. Pork is finished roasting. It's been about an hour and 25 minutes. It took a little longer than planned because of the size of our pork. We really want the internal temperature to be at 155 degrees. As soon as your pork comes out of the oven, you're gonna want to transfer it to a baker's rack. Now we're gonna let it rest for at least 15 minutes. During the cooking process, the heat pushes all the juices of the roast to the center. By letting the pork rest, it'll redistribute the juices throughout the meat. Remember, keep the drippings that will be in the pan or casserole that you roasted your pork in. This will be essential to completing your gravy. I have my Ali'i mushrooms from Hamakua Mushrooms. We're gonna put it in our pot and let that brown. Stir it up, but then just let it go. Don't move it too much, just let it brown. We're gonna add 2 cups of cold water into the pan or casserole that you roasted your pork in. Now we're just gonna take a spoon and scrape off all the good stuff. I have a strainer, and now we're gonna take the water and the drippings and pour it right back into the same measuring cup. I'm gonna bring you guys some easy home cooking. A packet of pork gravy, McCorn mix, it never fails. We're gonna take our dripping and water mixture, pour it into the bowl. It's about 2 cups, and our packet of pork gravy. Once there's no lumps in your gravy, we can add this into our mushrooms. Our mushrooms should be a nice golden brown, almost the consistency of looking burnt, but they should just be nice and browned. The mushrooms and butter combined with the pork drippings will really enhance this gravy. So once your gravy comes to a boil, we're gonna add in our whitewash. This is 50% cornstarch, 50% water. We're gonna slowly add it in while stirring, and this is gonna help to thicken the gravy. Now that our gravy is thickened, I'm gonna turn off my fire, take it off the heat. Now we can snip the strings off of the roast, slice it, and we're ready to serve. Look at this. By tying your pork, it keeps a nice shape. It keeps it nice and juicy, and when you slice it, it turns out beautiful. I paired my pork with garlic chive mashed potatoes, a sprig of rosemary for some essence, and those Ali'i mushrooms will really elevate that pork gravy. Thank you to Bob and Janice for always having my back. Those Ali'i mushrooms go with everything. So until next time, bye guys.